another thing to back up with women's wrestling today is that we're throwing things out there like the women are the first to do this, the women are first to do that. That is great. That is going to be history. But damn it, we need to follow through. If you want to call a record in a card like that by putting a woman out there front, you better continue the momentum and give them credit. Instead of, again, I feel that's just a sideshow, crappy way to do it.
Well, I want to ask you about your career, because women's wrestling right now is very prominent. It's in the forefront. But back in the 90s when we were in the UK watching WWF and you're Alundra Blaze, women weren't all over the show. You were the women's division against Bill Nakano and different women. How hard was that for you to kind of stand out in an era where women weren't being positioned the way they are now, where it's it's everywhere? How hard was that for you?
Women's wrestling is prominent right now, and pro wrestling has its level of ups and downs. So it's up 5-10 years. It escalates, de-escalates, up and down. And for women's wrestling, it's at the pinnacle point, which is so important. So what I mean by that is that not only is it wonderful to see the women in the forefront and always having first within our field, it's important that when we make our mark, that it isn't just a quick fix. It's not just to say, hey, I main evented here, or hey, women did this. What we need to continue to do, and it is a huge fight, and that is to follow through. So, and I'm always a huge advocate for women in that department. I'm very, very supportive. I'm a huge advocate for women in pro wrestling. I always have. I've always spoke my mind and the truth and honesty. And has it helped me in a lot of ways in the past? No. Does it help me now and help other women and our sport? Absolutely, because of my love for wrestling and the women in it, men and women alike, because pro wrestling is changing. It's changing drastically. And from when I was in it, when I was the billboard of women's wrestling, I was very blessed and lucky to be that, because we didn't have the scale of women like we do today, and they're respected today. In the past, I am not a victim of what wasn't. I am merely a blueprint of what women are today.
And your matches with Bill Nakano, especially for fans in the UK who maybe didn't see Japanese wrestling, whatever, they saw you, they saw Bill Nakano. Why do you think those matches still resonate so much with fans today?
They resonate today is because we are seeing that type of wrestling today. So I was so ahead of my time, and I hear that so much, and I say that with so much gratitude. I knew that when I got into pro wrestling and I started, I was just talking to Baby Doll, and she asked me, when did you start? And I was like, I think I started in 1983, and I'm from Minnesota. And so I was introduced to pro wrestling by a gentleman named Kai Michelson. He's a Hollywood stunt producer. He choreographed a lot of stunts for Burt Reynolds, and Dar Robinson was one of his main men that just recently passed away. And he approached me and said, you would be great in the entertainment business. And I thought, I'm a gymnast, I'm a jock, I'm a runner, I can be a stunt woman, yeah! And he goes, no, pro wrestling. And I went, yeah, really? And so it intrigued me. And I said, you know what? I said to myself, okay, let me check this out. So after hours and days and weeks of him continuously bugging me, I looked into it, and I went into a gym no bigger than about as big as this hallway, and I saw guys throwing each other around, sweating on mats, and I'm like, I can do this. But if I'm going to do this, I need to change the whole trajectory of women's wrestling and how it was looked at, because at that time when I started, the women I had to look up to was the Mae Youngs and the Moolahs and the Dean Byers and et cetera, some amazing, amazing women, because they are the ones that set the platform for the women of today as well, even for myself. And so I knew that, and I did my due diligence. So I knew that if I accepted into wrestling, I was the type of person that I am going to make a mark. I am going to be not just a pretty face, but you're going to know who the hell I am by my talent. Not just because I have a nice ass, or I can speak well, or I can actually wrestle, but I am going to be the complete package. So I knew that if if I was going to become this woman, the face of wrestling, and try to change it at all, then I needed to be different. So doing that, I did my diligence, and I looked upon and I found Japan. And I said, oh my gosh, Japan is it. Japan is where I am going to be taken seriously. And if an American woman could go to Japan and stay there for as long as I did, I was the first American woman to be offered a 3-year contract on a handshake, and I accepted. And it was history in the making. And I tell you, after a year and a half, after getting my ass beaten, I finally woke up and said, oh, I'm learning something. And it was the best thing that I ever did. So what I did is I said, I need a name. This was before any of this happened. Before I go to Japan, I need something American. I need something with 3 syllables. I need something they can chant. M-A-D-USA. M-A-D-USA. Made in the USA. Oh my gosh, it's fabulous going to Japan. Well, be careful what you ask for, because when you go to Japan, they want to market the hell out of you. And they said, oh, Madusa, you awesome. You American, you tall, you blonde. You are a singer. I'm like, what? I can't sing. What the hell are you talking about? And then before you knew it, I was giving concerts. I had all of these. Oh my gosh. So I cut my single, Who's Madusa in Japan? And it just went off from there. And then I knew that I needed to get back to the States, and I knew the years were coming to an end, and I had to reinvent Madusa going back to the States, and I did. And I said, okay, this is my chance. So when I went back to the States, I was so ahead. Everyone was like, whoa, who's this woman, right? So, and there wasn't much to wrestle, because we were used to the women's style of the United States. So I needed to tone it down, but not much. So I was hard hitting. I was right in, bam. I was just like attack, right? And because I wanted to be believable. Not just because of a pretty face, but because, well, I think I'm okay looking, but anyway. But, just to have the full package. And that's what happened and how we became one. And my heart is always in Japan and always will be. And Budo-san, Budo Nakano, totomo arigato ne. And I told her thank you so much for my career, because if it wasn't for her setting the tone for me, I wouldn't be where I'm at today.
And the other thing I wanted to say, to give you some more credit, is that when you were in WCW, you were like with the Macho Man, and you were like holding your own with him, in his team, and then you were like having matches with the guys sometimes and stuff, and that was a lot of stuff that women were not doing as much. I mean, do you kind of look at that now? Because now we see Nia Jax in a Royal Rumble facing up against the guys, and we had China, but like you were also part of that and kind of breaking down some barriers. Is that important for you that you were a part of that?
Well, it wasn't my idea, and I really truly believe that they got lost in translation. Basically, the men did. There were just a bunch of men around a circle table jerking off, basically not knowing what to do with the women, and they just thought, hey, let's just have her wrestle guys, and let's fade her out, or let's this and that. Later I found out, 25 years later, a few of the guys, the mainstream roster men, came up to me and said, Madusa, I was drinking the Kool-Aid. There's a lot of us that didn't want to follow your matches. There's a lot of guys, and we drank the Kool-Aid, and we put the kibosh on a lot of things, and your credit to you, we didn't want to follow you, and you basically got pushed off a lot of stuff. So there's a few men, who you are out there, that actually said, sorry, we drank the Kool-Aid, and they praised me, and because to this day I thought nobody respected me. I didn't think anyone liked me in wrestling. I didn't. Up until I went back in 2015, I got inducted into the Hall of Fame with WWE. I was done with wrestling. When I retired in 2001 and I got done with my whole run with Macho and Wrestling Men and the whole deal, yeah, I was probably one of the first. There might have been somebody before me that wrestled a man. I think there was Sherry and I too. We did the Colonel Parker thing, and I'm not sure if anything before that. But yeah, I may have been the first mainstream to do it, but that wasn't my intention. Mm-hmm. But The thing that we're losing today is that another thing to back up with women's wrestling today is that we're throwing things out there like the women are the first to do this, the women are first to do that. That is great. That is going to be history. But damn it, we need to follow through. If you want to call a record in a card like that by putting a woman out there front, you better continue the momentum and give them credit. Instead of, again, I feel that's just a sideshow crappy way to do it, right?
Yeah.
Hey, we did it. Now forget about it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You need to
be regular.
You need to be regular. Yeah. So, and with the intergender, I think it's good. I think it's great. It brings a little bit, of diverseness, and it wasn't my cup of tea. It's not what I wanted to do, but I support it. I think there's room for everybody and everything in wrestling, and I truly believe that you can't really buy charisma. You can't teach charisma. Everyone has a little percentage of charisma. You just got to find out what that is and dig deep, and when you get it and you feel your intuition, ride with it, because that is your money ticket. And that is, if you can cut promos, do your thing, and get asses in the seats, that's a big plus.